Theoretically, we are all supposed to be equal. Nobody is bigger or smaller. I am a Bay of Bengal country first, foremost, and last. Flaw in SARC, the weakness, the best example of burst cooperation or no cooperation. Very rigid borders. Conflict and the tension is between the aims of the two. SARC is not dead. We're not successful in creating the world that the youth of today deserve. Who are the people of SARC? People are people like you and me. Basically, the youth are growing up in little vacuums of their own. Youth programs we should focus on more than any other program. Youth are becoming the new citizens of the world today. Youth has to shape the future. They are the present and they are the future.
I am Mirza Siam Masood. As part of the Doyens of Peace Initiative, I am honored to sit down with former Ambassador Tariq A. Karim to discuss South Asian integration, the Bay of Bengal, and the role of youth in building a peaceful future.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
It's my pleasure to meet you. The concern that we have in our region, which is SAARC and South Asia. I would like to start with South Asia and the SAARC. Are they same or two different things?
South Asia and SARC, both are inventions of the 20th century. South Asia was once known historically, civilizationally as the Indian subcontinent. And then after World War II ended after 1945 and the New World Order emerged and new political boundaries and configurations were formed, the Indian subcontinent also was subdivided. We call it the partition. And once the partition was done, the other parts suddenly said, we are no longer Indian subcontinent. And so it became South Asia. South Asia is still a concept of geography. SARC is a concept of associating to work together. So conceptually, the two are separate, the two are different. And the conflict and the tension is between the aims of the two. So, in very simple words, SARC is referring not just to the original Indian subcontinent partitioned after 1947, it also includes Sri Lanka and Bhutan and Nepal, which are landlocked countries, and Maldives. So, SARC is a little larger than what South Asia is, but South Asia proper includes these.
Thank you very much, sir. It is pretty clear that there are similarities at the same time there are dissimilarities as well. So I also have another question. So how can Bay of Bengal and the Bay of Bengal studies contribute to the integration and prosperity of South Asia?
Interesting question and a good question, I think, and very particularly it is very pertinent to the current times we are living in. We have, for until recently, been imprisoned by a land-centric vision of ourselves. We focus on ourselves being on land and connecting with others over land, etc. However, since in the last 50 years, we have moved away from being land-centric increasingly to understanding that the oceans are where we exist. The land is a small part of the ocean. You know, this is the age of space travel.
Right.
But nothing is fiction anymore. We don't know 10 years or 20 years from now whether somebody will come from one world to another. It can happen. So imagine that Captain Kirk or Captain Jean-Luc Picard, and he's coming exploring new worlds, and he's exploring our galaxy, and he sees this planet which appears blue, unlike other planets. And he's interested, why is this planet different? And this is planet which we call Earth, because we are earthbound, somebody called it Earth. But when he looks and he says, oh, this is Oceania. We are less than 30% land, of which there are many waterways in the land, and more than 70% ocean. So first it's conceptual. And this, I think, we have been moving closer to the reality to understand that the oceans dominate whatever our activities are and how we survive or how we will die. So in that context, if I move away from land centricity to maritime or oceanic centricity, then I am a Bay of Bengal country first, foremost, and last.
Right, very true, sir.
The Bay of Bengal is the largest bay of the world in the oceans that we have. And if today we have if we have global powers disputing and competing, the Indian Ocean suddenly has become a very, very important part of the world for commercial reasons, maritime reasons, trade reasons, a lot of, and strategic. And they're talking of Indo-Pacific. There is no Indo-Pacific if there is no Bay of Bengal. It is the Bay of Bengal which connects the Indian Ocean to the Pacific
Pacific
Ocean.
Ocean.
And all the oceans, they are separate in name, but they are all interconnected.
Interconnect. Thank you very much. There's no doubt about the importance of Bay of Bengal and how it's interconnecting our South
But I
Asia.
want to add one more thought
Yes,
to
sir.
this. How is SARC relevant to how can we rethink SARC in terms of Bay of
Bay of
Bengal?
Bengal.
Except three countries, we are all on the Bay of Bengal. You could say maybe four because, but I look on Maldives as being an extension of the Bay of
Bay of
Bengal.
Bengal.
Afghanistan is the only which is far out.
Far out.
Okay. But you look at Sri Lanka,
Bhutan, Nepal.
India, Bangladesh, Bhutan. No, Bhutan and Nepal are landlocked.
Landlocked.
They are not on the ocean.
No.
Myanmar, Thailand, we are all Bay of Bengal. So basically, for me, Bay of Bengal stretches from Maldives, which is the entrepot in the Indian Ocean linking the Bay of Bengal, to Singapore, which links the Pacific Ocean with the Indian Ocean through the Bay of Bengal. Five Bay of Bengal countries and two landlocked countries who desperately need to connect with the Bay of Bengal to link with the maritime trade and connectivity that drives the world today.
That's very true, sir. This Bay of Bengal and its strategical power is can connect us as well as remove all the disputes among us. So the third question I have in my mind that is regarding the youth. Are youths in South Asia getting enough opportunities to connect and interact with us?
Okay, this has been one of the fundamental weaknesses of the SARC framework. And I think this is what has held us back if you compare us with other regions which are cooperating, coordinating, collaborating, and working with each other. And when I talk of other regions, I'm talking of regions like the European Union, regions like ASEAN, regions like in the East African or West African or Southern African. And they also had problems. This New World Order is based on the concept of the nation state forming the unit of reckoning of how you will distinguish between big powers and small powers. Theoretically, we are all supposed to be equal, sovereign equals, and nobody is bigger or smaller. But that's not how it is working. In this configuration, we, the South Asian countries, these 8 countries, singularly stand out as the best example of worst cooperation or no cooperation. Other regions are far ahead of us. Now, why is that so? Because the basic fundamental flaw in SARC, the weakness, it wants to improve trade, but it has very rigid borders controlled by passport and visa regimes which are not neighbor friendly, let me put it that way. And it's not travel friendly because each country has restrictions on how it will allow other country national to exist. Now you want to increase trade and you have people on one side with goods to sell to the other and you have buyers on the other, but you don't want them to travel. How are they going to trade if they don't meet each other, see what they are producing and what they are selling or buying, and whether they like it and how are the terms? So you cannot have cooperation if you prevent people from meeting and traveling and interacting with each other. You talked about youth, and let me come. Who are the people of SARC? The people are people like you and me. Now, when SARC was formed, it was 1985. So we have had at least three generations grow up since it was formed. If you take 20 years as the period of formation of a generation coming to age, today you have youth agitations and fulminations happening all over the world and particularly in our region. When I was a young child and growing up, even when I was in college, I'd heard that generation before me, the students used to travel and spend 15 days to 1 month in other countries
Wow.
in the regions. It was happening mainly between India, Pakistan in the early days. But then after Bangladesh emerged, it sort of stopped for some time. Then between India, Bangladesh, it happened for some time. I don't think there's anyone now between India and Pakistan. There is very little, if anything, between Bangladesh, Pakistan. There are some minute exchanges between each country with the other. And if the students do not get together, basically the youth are growing up in little vacuums of their own, cut off from each other, not able to exchange ideas with each other. When they come and meet, they realize how very similar they are. And when they realize how similar they are, they will also realize that they have more that connects them than what divides them.
Right.
And unless this division comes from the people, from the youth, because the youth are now the bigger mass in this. 40 to 50% are youth. They are the growing mass, the dynamic mass. The others are aging.
Right.
Their time is finishing. This youth has to shape the future. And if we don't get the youth to come together and exchange ideas, live with each other, talk to each other, share their dreams, this is not going to come. The other regional formations I talked about is when politics and people come together. We talk of democracy, but what is democracy if people do not have a say in what the future is? And I think youth programs we should focus on more than any other program because they are the future. They are the present and they are the future. Forget us fossils, who have grown up and come to age and they are becoming wise and 1 foot in the grave because we were not successful in creating the world that the youth of today deserve.
Thank you very much, sir. The later part of your answer is already pointed out that what youth can do and what we can provide to the youth, what facilities we can provide to the youth to fight this problem. So the final thing I would be asking you if you have anything else to add to this interview and we can disclose.
And I've been telling for the last 15 years at least, probably closer to 20 years, no, SARC is not dead. SARC is lying in a state of coma on life support in the regional ICU that is what we call South Asia. People come out of coma even after 20 years. SARC has different organs that are still sort of working. There are regional organizations. We have in Bangladesh two of them. There's a regional center in Bhutan and there's a regional center in India. At least these centers are still working, bringing the SARC people together in their particular fields. That should continue. Then we have different fora. There's a parliamentary fora, there's a Chamber of Commerce forum, and there is also, I think, a youth forum. They should be activated. Even if SARC is not working as such, these forums can keep working together, bringing people together. Who knows, maybe it's a Gen Z which will go out in the streets and starting demanding of the people that why are you sleeping on this? Why are you not letting us cross borders and have interaction with our neighbors across the border? Yes, boundary disputes remain, but you can still work despite boundary disputes. And if you continue to work together, it will soften the frame of mind for you to address the boundary disputes and resolve them. We should not allow the boundary disputes to determine how our life will be governed for the rest until we die.
Thank you very much, sir. So that would be all for today's interview.
Thank you. Thank you very much.